All right, let's. All right, let's get started.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen. I got my pad now. Where's the whiteboard function? Oh, whiteboard. All right. All right. Let's talk about micro teaching. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, um, externally. The first question I'm going to ask you is, how do you eat an elephant?
How do you need what? Sorry.
How do you eat an elephant?
Let's see. An elephant?
Yeah.
We don't eat elephant.
But how, if we could eat an elephant, how would you eat an elephant?
We will cut it. Oh, we're gonna make it small pieces.
Right, one bite at a time. You eat
Mm.
an elephant one bite at a time. And that is what teaching and learning is about,
Mm.
is breaking big things into smaller pieces.
Mm.
That's what that's why that's why a lot of planning is involved when it comes to teaching. So when you talk about teaching, you're talking about eating an elephant.
Mm.
Last time we spoke, we talked about the academic plan, the yearly plan. You have to have a yearly plan, right? That's
Yes.
the elephant. The
I,
yearly plan is the elephant. It's a huge. We want to do all these things in 180 days, right?
yeah.
All these things. And then what we do is that's considered backwards mapping, looking at the big picture, what the destination is. Okay. We we look at the destination. Okay. This is where we want to be on the last day of school. This is what we call expected outcomes. This
Mm.
is what we expect the
The
student to be
the
able
students to get all learning.
to do.
Mm.
Okay. At the end of the school year, we expect the students to be able to do these things.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we backwards map from there, from the from the academic plan, and we break the academic plan into units, and then we break them into from units, we break them into segments for
Mm.
each unit, right? And then segments, we break them into daily lesson plans or ideas, right? The smallest piece of this is called micro teaching.
Micro? Mm.
Micro teaching. Micro teaching.
Okay.
All right, that's the smallest unit of this micro teaching. All right.
Mm. Micro teaching. This is the
And
small. Yeah.
micro teaching is when we figure out the smallest bite, the
Mm.
smallest piece, right? And with the understanding that that smallest piece eventually what if we keep on eating small pieces, we're going to have the entire elephant consumed.
Mm.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of the reason why we have to plan is because we have to we have to know what those small pieces are going to look like. We got to understand what those small pieces are going to look like. And if we don't plan, then what ends up happening is here's what happens when we don't plan. When we don't plan properly and we don't have an expected outcome, okay, what ends up happening is
We will
you
not
keep
achieve
on
our
going to
goals, yes.
you keep on going to the grocery store, right? You
Yes.
keep on going to the grocery store, and what do I mean by that? You go and get the elephant, and then you go and buy the giraffe, and then you go and buy the lion, and then you go and buy the bear, right? And now you have a lion, tiger, bear, elephant. You got all these things to eat. Well, you could barely consume the elephant. You know what I
Yes.
mean? By the end of the school year. But because you didn't plan, you keep on consuming or you keep on buying all these things and having the students consume all these things, and they're not there's no proper connections that could be made between these different things because we're not looking at the larger plan, the bigger plan. Okay. So what happens is you begin to have these lessons that don't end up going anywhere. Nothing gets consumed. Nothing gets the dinner is not completely finished. Okay.
Yes.
So micro teaching is a result of good planning. It's where we get to the smallest piece, which are, if you remember, Krashen said what? Tell me what Krashen said.
Yashir said that we need to reduce the filter of the students to
Right.
get
The effective filter.
yes, to get
And then he also I plus one,
input.
right? So comprehensible inputs. The inputs must be what? They must be
Understandable
understandable
and compelling.
and compelling. And so each one of those comprehensible inputs is I plus one. We actually call it scaffolding in
Scaffold, yes.
teaching. We
Yeah.
call it scaffolding, right? So the micro teaching is the scaffolding. It's the
Scaffold.
little small comprehensible inputs
Yes.
that are compelling and interesting, or understandable and compelling, rather.
Yes.
Okay. And so these are the moments where learning really takes place. This is the concert, this is the show. And we prepare for all these little micro teaching moments. Okay. Now, micro teaching is not the only thing that we do. This is one of the things that we do to get the elephant eaten. Okay. But micro teaching is a very important part because another role, another responsibility that we have as educators is to model the lesson. We have to model the lesson.
Yes.
What tends to happen in a teacher-based approach is the teacher stands in front of the class and says, wonka, 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 right? And then asks the students to repeat or regurgitate wonka, 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 right?
Yes.
And we do this a couple of times through repetition. And then at some point, we give the students a quiz. And because it's in the students' working memory, right? Or maybe even in their short-term memory, right? They're able to repeat it. but they
Yes.
can't really do so much. They can't really do too much with it. So we wonka, 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 and then at the quiz, the students fail the quiz, or at the test, the students fail the test or the exam, right? And then we get frustrated.
Yes.
Okay, that's the teacher-based approach. And when we do it that way, what we're encouraging is information to be held in the student's working memory. That's just enough for the quiz, or just enough for the exam. And as soon as I am able to pass this exam or pass this quiz, I want nothing else to do with the information, right? So, I think I asked you this last on Tuesday. Do you remember anything from your English literature class in college?
Me?
Name 3 books you read in your English literature class, your one-on-one class.
والله
Or
you
do you
see?
remember the teacher's name? Do you remember the professor's name?
No. Oh, yeah. I forgot really. I did too one. Yes, you are
Yeah,
right.
I think back, I can't remember too many of my professors' names, right?
Yes, you are right.
Because the way we set up teaching and learning is through our working memory and not through our long-term memory.
Yes, short time memory.
Okay. So, um, so one of the things that we have to know, did I talk about the brain last on Tuesday? Did I talk about the RES and the amygdala? I didn't get into that, did I?
Yes.
I don't think I did.
No,
So one
no.
of the things, we have to know as teachers is that our students all have this thing called a brain, right?
Yes.
You agree with that? They have a brain?
Yeah.
Yeah, they better have a brain, or you don't have. I don't know what you have in your class, right?
Mm.
So, as educators, there's 3 parts of the brain that we're particularly interested in. This part right here, this part right here, and this part right here. This part right here is called the RAS. The RAS stands for the reticular activating system. All right, the reticular activating system. And the RAS is concerned with one thing and one thing only: keeping you safe.
Mm.
So going back to crashing, remember those comprehensible inputs?
Yes.
We all perceive comprehensible inputs in everything that we do when we drive, when we're at the grocery store, when we're watching television, when we're listening things. We all perceive them as comprehensible inputs. And one of the things that we ask ourselves, is it understandable? Do I understand this input?
Mm.
Right? And if I don't understand it, it's not safe,
Yes.
right? It could be not safe because it's in a different language, because the person who's speaking may be incoherent, right? Or it may be a threat. Anything that's a threat is not understandable.
Yes.
We don't accept it,
Mm.
right? Or even if we understand it, it's not compelling, meaning we're not interested in it. I don't care about that. So we understand it, but we just not. It don't have any business to us, right?
Mm.
Um, what the RAS, the reticular activating device, is more concerned with: is it a threat and is it understandable, right?
Okay.
If it perceives that comprehensible input as a threat or not understandable, it's going to keep it. This is the brainstem here. Okay, this is the brainstem, and the brainstem is the oldest part of the human brain, or human body. I mean, human brain rather. It stores in. It stores data from your ancestors. Okay, That's how we know to do certain things. Is the brainstorm. Is one of our pre-download. This is where our pre-downloaded apps are. God gave us apps. We're like a mobile phone. And he gave us pre-installed apps to have us function. And those apps are stored here. So experiences of your ancestors are here. That's how you know to be scared of things, afraid of things. Be cautious about certain things. All stored here in the brainstem, right? So a lot of, you heard of nature versus nurture. A lot of the nature is right here. Okay. We do innately. Okay. So if we don't understand something or we perceive it as a threat, we send it to the non-thinking part of the brain, which is here. As educators, we don't like this area because this is the area where fight, flight, or freeze takes place. We hate, as educators, we hate that area. Is the key over here? Here's the key. We hate this area right here because this is the area that frustrates us. Right? This is when the students get up in the middle of class. Sit down, Sarah. Stop talking. Stop pulling her hair. No. Put your phone down. No, you can't. No. That's the fight. The flight. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom? Oh, I need to see the principal about something.
Yeah.
Can I go? I need to go and talk to my brother in the other class. That's flight. Freeze is falling asleep or daydreaming or scrolling on the phone. Okay. These are natural responses. Right? It's not necessarily the child, the learner is doing anything wrong. These are what God designed that learner to do. And you do the same thing.
Yes.
When you're in a training session, when you're in a PD, a professional development, you run to the bathroom, you look at your phone, right?
Yes.
We control ourselves better than kids, but we basically do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
We daydream, we think about what we're going to buy at the mall at the end of the session, right? So understand that when they do things like this is the RES throwing it to their non-thinking part of the brain. And what it tells us is that they don't understand the input that we're giving them. Okay. They don't understand that input, or they see that input as a threat.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, this is their responses, right? When
This is
they see
their
the input as a threat, they do this
yeah.
fight
They
or
do these things.
these things.
Fight, flight, or freeze. All right. Because they don't understand it or they see it as a threat. Right. Now, if the information is safe, okay, the RES sends that information to this other part of the brain called the amygdala. I always spell this wrong. The amygdala. And with the amygdala is only concerned with one thing. What is in it for me? The amygdala is a trip. It is a very funny part of the brain because it's only concerned with, it understands that the information is safe because it would have never got there. But the amygdala says, well, what's in it for me? So you hear students say something, why we got to learn this?
Yes.
I don't need to know English anyway. I'm never going to the UK. I'm never going to America. Why I need to know English? This math is too hard. I don't need to know math. I know how to count.
Mm.
What I gotta learn geometry for? What you did? This is not important.
Mm.
Reading these stupid books are not important, right?
Mm.
So that's the amygdala speaking. When the students show just a disinterest. The key takeaway for educators here is that we have to make the information compelling. Going back to the comprehensible inputs, right?
Yes, of course.
What did I tell you that Diane Lawson, not Diane Lawson Freeman, but Carol Ann Thomason said? She said what? She said that in order to differentiate instruction, you need three things. You remember those three things? Student must be ready.
Yes, ready, interested, and we need to know his profile, right?
Consider the learner profile. Good,
To learn his
right?
profile.
So,
Mm.
so you know, educator after educator after educator, even Montessori, if you go all the way back to Maria Montessori,
Mm.
right?
Sorry,
It's
Mr.
all
Brown,
about
sorry to interrupt you. Who said that? Ready, interested, and to learn his profile. What's his name? What's the name?
Her name is Dr. Carol Ann Tomlinson. I'll write it for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Carol Ann
Carol
Tomlinson.
Emerson. Yes, okay.
Okay. She is known for differentiation. So she writes a lot of books and research on differentiated instruction, which is very hard to do, right? It's very hard to differentiate instruction, right? So she reads, so you can look her up. She has a lot of cool books and research. Okay.
Okay.
So we know that the student must be interested. It must be compelling. Okay. This is why you have to, it's important. It is essential, not important. It is essential, it's critical. Seems like the more I talk, the more my nose. Boy. Oh, boy. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So it is critical that we consider the learner profile. Why? Because we need to know how to draw connections with students, right? Because you may think it's cool, you may think it's interesting, you may think it's essential, critical, important, but they may not think the same thing. And telling them that they need to know it because they need to know it for the future, that don't resonate with children. It doesn't even resonate with people, adults. Oh, you need to know this because it's gonna, you need to know this for your future, right? Or you need to know this for the test. Well, that's not a good one, right? Because then that's teaching them how to be a student and not a learner, right? So we have to make sure that we draw connections with learners so they can stay learners and become learners and get out of being students. You do not want a classroom full of students. You want a classroom full of learners.
Yes.
The problem is most teachers do things to promote young people being students instead of learners. And not considering the learner profile as one of those. Because every last one of those students has an amygdala that's saying, what is in it for me? Why do I need to learn this? What am I gonna get out of this? You're wasting my time. And here's the funny thing. Here's the absolute funny thing about the whole situation. Do you want to hear the funny thing?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you the funny thing. Excuse me. I'm gonna tell you the funny thing. You get excuse me. The absolute funny thing about the whole scenario when a student says, or even a learner says, why do I need to know this? You're wasting my time. This is not important.
Yes.
About 95% of the time, they are absolutely correct.
Mm.
They're absolutely correct. And what happens is, at a very young age, they spot and they identify from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, that they're getting scanned. That this thing called school is a waste of their time.
No, they are not
They identify it. Now they might not be able to vocalize it and articulate it, but they realize at a certain point that they're being scanned. We're waste their childhood is rotting away in this thing called a classroom because they're learning uh comprehensible inputs, information, data. Well, for them, data.
Mm.
It's because it's not information, it's just data to them. They're collecting a lot of data that's not solving any of their problems. And it will not, and it won't solve, you could kick the can down the road and say, well, it's going to solve your problem when you turn in the second grade or in the next year or 5 years from now or when you become adult. They don't want to hear that.
They will not understand this.
I need to solve my problem right now. A problem that I have right now. Don't sell me on next year or 10 years from now or 25 years from now. What problem does it solve right now? And apps, and they more often than not, especially coming out of this after the first grade, we begin to give learners slash students a lot of what we
Information.
call inert knowledge. Inert knowledge. Inert knowledge.
Inert knowledge.
Okay, inert knowledge. And that's knowledge that's just a waste of time. That's teaching and learning where it's just data, zero and ones to the student. And a lot of, especially outside of first grade, kindergarten, all that stuff that we teach in kindergarten is good stuff. Most of the stuff that we teach in the first grade is good stuff. But as the grades go higher and higher, the more inert knowledge we give students, and they start to figure out that they're getting scammed, that the whole thing is a sham. It's like when you figure out that Santa Claus is not real,
Yes.
or that your parents are Santa Claus, right? The higher the third grade, fourth grade, and then you notice they get more and more agitated as the grades go up.
Yes.
Because it's that, and then by the time they get to the fourth and fifth grade, they're like, why do I even got to go to school? This is nonsense. It's not solving any of my problems. This is a bunch of nonsense. Now, unfortunately, there's very little that as teachers, as educators, that we can do because the curriculum and the standards have already been set. The standards and the curriculum have already been set. We don't have a lot of control of that. But what we can do is realize that a lot of the content is inert. So what we try to do in our best way possible is connect this inert nonsense into their lives, into the students' lives as much as we possibly can, and empathize with the student and say, look, it is what it is, but this is how this information could apply to you in some way. So what our job is, we are really intermediaries. We work for both sides, right? We advocate for the school and then we advocate for the students. We're intermediate. We're middlemen or middle people, right? Because we got to the students, we have to say, look, I know that you don't really need this, but but let me show you how this is good and how this works for you. To the school, we got to say, yep, I covered it, just like you asked, right? So we have to do this middleman shucking and jiving, making deals happen.
So you
That's
said
our
that
job as
we need to
educators.
connect this into knowledge to what for the
So we
students.
have to insert this knowledge into something that is feasible, something that is active for the student. And that's where the planning comes in. Because again, you can scam the kindergarten kids and you can scam the first graders, but normally kindergarten, first grade, all that stuff we give them is typically good stuff.
Yes, yes. This is
Second grade is good stuff, but it starts to get a little weak. Third grade, it gets weaker. Fourth grade, by the time they get to the sixth and seventh, a lot of nonsense. Right? A lot of nonsense, especially when because if you notice, think about this. The higher the grade, the more what happens, subjectivity and opinions start to be inserted.
Yes.
Kindergarten and first grade is facts, right? This is how you tell time. 1 + 1 is 2, right? These are facts. These are concrete facts, right? Objective. But the higher you get in grades, the higher you get in the grades, what happens? Subjectivity comes in, opinions come in, right? And that's when the waters get murky. Now, don't get me wrong. It's good because we know life is murky. We know life is chaotic. We know life is subjective. The problem comes in is when we teach the subjective as if it's objective. That's the problem. And that's when they start to say, hold on a second, you're scamming me. Because at age 9, a fourth grader, a third grader, they can recognize an opinion from a fact. And they sit there and say, hold on a second. This teacher is offering me an opinion, but trying to sell it as a fact. And that's where a lot of the friction comes in. And then so when you start thinking about the amygdala, or you start thinking about the RES, it begins to make sense. Because the friction really starts to come in the second, third, fourth. In the fifth grade, they really get rowdy, right? Sixth graders really get rowdy. Sixth graders, woo, fifth and sixth grade, woo. They can be tough, right? They can be real tough because by the time the fifth and sixth grade come in, they're becoming their own human being now. They're starting to operate out of some independence, right? So you're trying to sell them on some opinions and trying to offer it as fact. Their RES and their amygdalas are going, hold on a second. Number one, is this safe for me?
Yes.
This don't sound right. This don't sound right. Right? Because you remember, they have experiences too. Because the true learning doesn't take place in the classroom. So they're learning 24 hours a day. They're perceiving the world, right?
Just 1 second.
They're perceiving. Yeah, sure.
لا مش احكي Sorry, Mr. Leonard. Sorry about that.
No problem. So remember, they're perceiving the world. So that's why you'll notice that the students really get rowdy 4, 6, 7, because they have more independence in their amygdalas and their RES beginning to develop. Because you got to remember, as they're older, they're getting older and older, their brains are developing more and more. Still immature, but developing nevertheless. Right? Make sense?
Yes, yes.
So one of the things that we have to do is, as educators, acknowledge this. Right?
Yes.
We have to acknowledge what's going on in the brain. And that's why I say all the time to people, you can't be a teacher. You gotta be an educator. Teachers teach students, educators teach learners. And educators are scientists. A teacher is somebody who goes in, gets paid, does what the school tells them to do, and walk out the door.
Yes.
Okay. So what does this have to do with micro teaching? Micro teaching, you have to consider all these components before you begin the micro teaching, to micro teach. Because it won't go well if you don't. That's why planning is really important. Considering that learner profile is really important. Okay.
Before making the lesson plan, yes. Before planning for your lesson, you have to realize these things, yeah.
You have to, and you can only do it, and here's the other thing. You can only do it in reference to the learners that you're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
Because life is chaotic.
Yes.
Okay. And each group of learners are different because of the generations, because of their experiences. I don't think like my parents thought. My parents didn't think like their parents thought. So as educators, we realize that people don't think the same for many reasons.
Yes, of course.
Right? And age and history has a lot to do with that. Age and history. How your age and the time in which you were born, your generation, where you were born, the culture, the technology, all these things affect how groups of people and individual people see the world and rationalize the world. And so because innovation always takes place, we're different. And we're more and more different now than ever before because innovation has accelerated faster than ever before.
Yes.
Right? So think about it. You know, we went from, if you went from Alexander Graham Bell, right? The telephone.
Everything is different nowadays. Yes.
Well, just think about the telephone for a second. How many years did we go with just having a telephone? The telephone didn't evolve from the time Alexander Graham Bell
Yeah.
invented it. It took 60, 70, 80 years. People used telephones.
Mm,
But then we went from telephones to pagers to mobile to cell phones to smartphones,
mm,
all within like a 25-year time span, 30-year time span, where the technology, so for 80 years, the technology was pretty static.
mm,
But then in 30 years, the technology just jumped crazy, right?
mm.
I remember when having a pager was a big deal. Little pager, remember the
Oh,
pagers?
yes, I know it.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Mm,
You know, have somebody page you, and then having a phone, a cell phone,
yes. Oh.
to then having, but now we can FaceTime and do all these amazing things. We can sign documents with our phones now. Look
Oh,
at the leap.
this is
And
the
all within,
invention.
we talk about smartphone technology, all within a 15 to 20-year period. We went about 100 years with the static phone, the analog phone.
Mm,
In about 15 to 20 years, we went from taking phone calls on your mobile device to signing documents.
mm.
You can buy a house on your phone now,
Yes, oh, for your phone.
right?
Mm. Yes, I agree.
So because of those things, that makes the people born in those time periods absolutely different
Mm.
because of the access to information,
Yes.
right? I remember when I was a kid, I got locked in the library. I'll never forget that. I was yelling out the window, "Help! Help!" Right? The police had to call the manager of the library because I was in the library reading and they locked me in. Now kids don't even have to go to the library anymore.
Yes, yes, this is the problem. Yeah.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
Really? I see my kids
See,
always on the YouTube or PlayStation. They're studying only
it as
for
a
an
problem.
hour.
You see it as a problem because you went to the library.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't used to do this
They don't see it
actually.
as and it's not a problem because their brains are are developed differently than yours
Mm,
because they don't even conceive of library. They don't have that conception.
yes.
Just like you don't have the conception of horse and buggy,
Mm,
right? I'm
yes.
pretty sure all your life you didn't have to go to school in a horse and buggy.
Yeah.
So you don't perceive that. So people look, so your grandparents or your great grandparents, oh, these kids, they get to ride cars. We had to take a horse and buggy. We had to take a mule, right? Oh, these kids, they don't know, they have it too good, right? You don't say that that you missed out on anything because you didn't ride in a horse and buggy.
Mm,
That would be ridiculous. You would see that as ridiculous.
yeah. Mhm.
It's ridiculous. I'm not missing out on anything because I didn't ride in a horse and buggy,
Mm.
right?
Yes, you are
So
right.
they're not missing out on anything either. It's just we feel like it because we're getting old,
Mm.
right? So we feel like these daggone kids, they should be in the library. Yeah, library. Yeah.
They even
They
don't
don't
like
need
the cartoons that we watched when we were young. I said, "What's this ridiculous? You were watching this cartoon?"
I love Bugs Bunny. My kids, I think Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and
Yes,
all those
yes.
guys
No, we
are
all love
funny.
the Bugs Bunny. Yes.
Yeah, I think they're like and they look at me like I'm the Stone Age.
Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous.
Uh,
Yeah.
And you know, and I look at them like, what is wrong with you? You don't like Bugs? Who doesn't like Bugs Bunny? Right? Um, uh, but and again, it doesn't make them, they're not missing out on anything, is what I'm saying. We will argue that they are, but the reality is they're living in their time. And as educators, we have to understand that.
طيب الحمد لله يلا we will see إن شاء
We,
الله.
we we have to understand it, and more than understand it, we have to accept it.
Yes, yeah.
You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to agree with it, but you do have to accept it.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? Because if you don't accept it, what happens is you're not going to be able to connect with your students, and you're going to be a teacher instead of an educator.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So when we go to do something like micro teaching, the point that I'm trying to make is that there's a lot more that we must consider when we have interactions with learners.
Yes.
Again, that is key. Right? In those transactions, absolutely key. So again, micro teaching, the big elephant, we're going to eat it one bite at a time.
Mm. Mm.
When the primary thing that we do is model. Plan and model, observe. Plan, model, observe. Plan, model, observe. That's what we do well, I would say plan, model, observe, reflect. Plan, because you can observe without reflecting. So plan, model, observe, reflect. That's what we do. And it's a circle. We plan, we model, we observe, we reflect. Observe. When we say model, we execute the plan.
Yeah.
Right?
Reflect.
Plan, model, observe. Now you'll notice something when we talk about plan, model, observe, reflect, right? You'll notice that the only time that we're really doing any talking is in the modeling stage. Everything else is really a thinking transaction. That's very important. So as educators, we do less talking and more thinking. Teachers do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
Teachers do a lot of talking, right? As educators, we do a lot of thinking. It's key here. Okay. So plan, model, observe, reflect. I'm going to share something with you later on about what companies do. And you're going to see that it's very similar to what we're talking about now. One of the biggest companies in the world, they follow a similar model, like Toyota. Toyota, amazing company, and they follow a similar model. We'll talk about it a little later.
Okay.
All right. So let's dive now into micro teaching. We talked about the theory. Micro teaching, there's a couple of steps here. The first step is teacher. Okay. That's what the TT stands for, teacher. This is when the teacher models the lesson. So models that one bit, that one input is key here. It's key that we understand. This is a micro teaching opportunity. So when we talk about Bloom's taxonomy, we're not doing anything high level. So we went over Bloom's did we go over Bloom's?
Yes.
We went over Bloom's, right?
Mm.
I talked about Bloom's. So you know what Bloom's taxonomy is, right?
Yeah. According to the interest, right? The needs, basic needs.
So at the bottom of the taxonomy is what?
the basic needs.
No, that's Maslow hierarchy of needs. I'm not talking about Maslow. Talk about which, well, we could connect the two, but let's talk about Bloom's taxonomy.
Oh, no, okay.
So at the bottom of the taxonomy, you have what? You remember? Knowing.
Oh, yes.
Oh, excuse me. Knowing or remembering. All right.
Okay.
And then, and we got to remember the taxonomy is about, as you go up the pyramid, it's about higher order thinking, higher ordered thinking. So this, as teachers, what we do is, as we move through the unit, we assess where they are in the taxonomy, and they're not going to be all in the same place, right? Students going to be different places based on the unit, because especially in Saudi, because kids are coming from different backgrounds, different school systems, other schools, right? So they're going to be all over the place. This is another reason why the learner profile is important. So we have to assess where they are, and then based on where they are, we don't always have to start at the bottom, but a lot of times we do, because based on the assessment, the pre-assessments or the formative assessments we make before the unit starts, right? So we have knowing, and then we have comprehending, comprehension. So being able to comprehending. So you have knowing at the bottom. Come on. I got to get a new pad. Knowing. And at the next is comprehending. And then after comprehending is applying. You've seen this before, right?
Yeah.
All right, this is Bloom's taxonomy. After applying, you have analyzing. All right. After analyzing, you have synthesizing or creating. And then after synthesis, you have evaluation or evaluating. You notice I'm using verbs. Now, let me pause for a second here and tell you there's two taxonomies. One from Dr. Bloom's, his original one, and then his students revised the taxonomy in, I believe, 2001. All right. Now, schools, it's interesting. Schools tend to use the new taxonomy because it has verbs, action words. Right?
Action words.
And that's a good thing. It helps teachers write smart lesson plans. Okay. However, what I believe is the major change in the new taxonomy is evaluating is under synthesis. So in the new taxonomy is knowing, comprehending, applying. When I say knowing, remembering, being able to identify. So knowing, comprehending, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, evaluating. Under the new taxonomy, it's analyzing, evaluating, and synthesis. However, in my professional opinion, that's wrong. And businesses use the old taxonomy. Where, and
Okay.
here's the reason why it's wrong. Synthesizing means to create. But what do you do after you create? You evaluate what you create, because evaluation is what? Continuous improvement. And that goes along with the theme of what? Lifelong learning, continuous improvement. Just because we create something doesn't mean the process stops. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay. Doesn't mean the process stops. Okay. So you will see both taxonomies. Understand, in fact, let me show it to you live. Let me get out of this for a second. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I think you see my screen now, right?
Yes.
See my
Okay. I can see it.
let's see. I'm gonna see. Okay, here's the one with the old one, the new one. I don't know if you can see, that.
Okay, yes, I can see it.
Okay, here's the old one and the new one, the 2001. And you see how evaluation and synthesis have swapped.
They change it. Switch.
Now, the good thing about the change is that they changed from noun to verb. That's good. That helps teachers write good, smart objectives.
Yeah.
So it's good from that perspective. It's bad in that we took create and we put and swapped it with evaluate.
Yeah, that's swap. They evaluate with the creators.
Right. So it's important now. Understand, not just educators use this, not just schools use this taxonomy. Businesses use this taxonomy also. And businesses will more than likely have used the old one. They don't use the new, because businesses know that evaluation is a higher skill than synthesis. Okay. Remember, when you're teaching, in essence, what you're trying to do is move your learners up the taxonomy, because this evaluation is the highest order thinking skill. Knowing is the lowest skill. Okay. So again, we have to figure out, as educators, we have to figure out where they fall on the taxonomy before we start a unit. So before we start a new unit, we need to know what they already know about the unit. Right? So we do some type of pre-assessment, and then we have to make a judgment call, where do they fall on the taxonomy? We can't assume they know nothing about the unit. They may know nothing, right? Or some students may know nothing, and some students may be here, and some students may be applying, right? And that's when the differentiation comes in. So you cannot differentiate You cannot differentiate until what? Until you do an assessment on where they are. So you cannot start a unit, right?
This
You
is what we
cannot
do
start
really.
it.
This is what I do really with my students. Yes.
Yeah, you can't start you cannot differentiate without doing an assessment before the unit starts. Some
Yes.
teachers want to differentiate because then they realize the student needs more help, but it's kind of too late now because that differentiation should have started right in the beginning of the unit. Because a lot of times, going back to that brain, you've already lost them. The amygdala has already said, I don't care about this stuff. This is not safe. The reticular activate. So you need to know, okay, this is where Ray is in this unit. All right. I know he's going to have some challenges with this because I've done my my diagnostic, my assessment, and I know these might be some challenges for him. So these are the things I'm going to preemptively do to make his amygdala, make his RES happy. And that's where the differentiation starts. Again, is it easy? No, it is very hard.
Yes.
It is very difficult, especially when you have a lot of students in your class. It's hard. I'm not going to sit up here and act like it's easy. It's extremely difficult. Okay. So I just wanted to show you this blooms. Always when you're writing plans or anything, always keep this in mind. Blooms in mind.
Mister, we are doing this, but without labels, really. This is what we do actually, but without the labels, or remember that this is the Bloom taxonomy or the taxonomy or like
Yeah,
this.
but you have to see, this is the science of it, right?
Yeah.
You have to have this chart and think actively about the levels.
Yeah, to connect
Because
it.
if you don't do that, it's like a mechanic,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, you are right.
Or a builder. A builder, you would never see a builder. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. You you will never see a mechanic or a architect or construction worker without his tape measure. They always have that tape measure on them. They always have their ruler on them,
Yes.
right? Right? They never eyeball anything. Mechanics will. Oh, I hear mechanics say all the time, when I measure something, I measure 3 times. I measure it 3 times to make sure the measure is right. Because if I'm a look, if I'm a millimeter off, it can mess the whole thing up.
Premises.
So as educators, we have to keep that same mindset. So it's one thing to say, yeah, we already do it. Yeah, we don't call it blooms, or we
Yes.
don't have, no, you need to have that chart
Yeah.
in the teacher's lounge, in your teacher book, and actively, just like the mechanic always has his tape measure, or mechanics always have the manual. They keep the manual because
Yes.
let me check the manual again. So these are our manuals. So we look at it and we actively say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where my students are. Because the moment we don't have it in front of us, we begin to lose it. And then things don't make sense. Or it's hard to communicate to a new teacher or to a group of teachers. You got to have it in front of you. All right.
Yes, we should have
It
it.
turns it into a science, which this is a science. Teaching and learning is a science. Okay. So if it is a science, then we must act like scientists.
Yes, you are right.
We must act like it's imperative that we become scientists. And you are a scientist. You're absolutely a scientist.
Mm.
You're a social scientist. Now we do it. We conduct experiments differently than other scientists because we're social scientists. We
Yes.
don't have to have. We don't have to randomize our
Mhm.
participants, our sample, right?
Yes.
We have the luxury of doing some things that other scientists are not able to do, but nevertheless, we're still scientists. Okay.
Yes. Mm.
I should use all right. So let's go. Let's finally get into this micro teaching. Oh, what happened to me? Okay. So with all those things that we talked about in mind, the first thing that we're gonna do
PT model, right? Teacher.
because model. This is
Mm.
teacher. This is the teacher actually what I say talking to themselves.
Mm.
You're modeling the behavior or the outcome that you want your students to do, right? So
Mm.
you want them to do it exactly the way you're doing it. So in an ESL scenario, let's say the theme is or the context is what do you do for exercise? So in an ESL scenario, if I was doing teacher, and this is what we call a teacher paradigm, right? I would say, what do you do for exercise? So I would have my script on the board. What do you, sorry for my bad handwriting, do for exercise? It's hard to write on this board,
Oh, yeah, I see. Mm.
right? And then the response is, I run. Okay.
Mm.
Now, again, you could do this with math, you could do this with any subject, but because this is TESOL, let's use a TESOL scenario.
Mm.
So, what do you do for exercise? I run. So it would look something like this. I would stand in front of the class. What do you do for exercise? I run. 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 Okay.
Mm. Yes.
Now, how many times did I do that? I think I did it. How many times did you count? Did you count?
Yeah. Eight, wait, six maybe.
5 times. I think it was five. It might have been six. I meant to do five. Right? I
Okay.
meant to do five, but I meant to do 5 times. All right.
Um,
So we're teaching a group of students English. This will be a micro lesson.
mm.
And I'm gonna do that scenario 5 times to myself. Okay, that's
Mm.
teacher. Now, if we back up a bit, we're going to have context. The context is what? Exercise.
Oh, okay.
All right. Now, remember, context is comprehensible input, which must be what? Understandable
Spelling and
and compelling.
understandable. Yeah.
Right. So context. So let's talk about context for a second. Comprehensible inputs are birthed out of context. Now, the great thing about context is what? We're human beings. So regardless of where you are in the world, every human being experiences pretty much the same context. We get hungry, we get tired, we get frustrated, we become happy, we become sad, we get thirsty, we get tired, we get sleepy, right? So there are so many contexts that we experience as human beings that we take advantage of as educators. Okay, especially in an ESL scenario. So going back to the problem in avoiding inert knowledge, we always use context because our amygdalas can understand the context. Our RAS can understand the context. You see? So this is how we get the RAS to realize that it's safe and the amygdala to say what's in it for me. All right. Oh, I don't know a lot of English. And my dad always takes me to McDonald's and orders in English. Right. So next time I go with my dad to McDonald's, I'm able to place an order in English. So we take advantage. So the context is there as what? Ordering at a restaurant. Right. Here, the context is exercise. What do you do for exercise? Right. All right. So the point of that is what? Context is everything. So let's define context. Let's define context. I want you to write this down. Context is the situation the learners understand. Very important. The situation learners understand, not the teacher. Learner, not you. It's the situation the learners understand. All right.
Okay.
Context is extremely essential, critical when you do any teaching. And in particular, we're talking about micro teaching. The context is key, right? Context is every key. If you try to teach anything without providing the context, a lot of students, a lot of learners, they're not going to know what's going on.
Okay.
All right. So tell me what context is.
The situation the learners understand.
Let me tell you right now.
Yeah.
If you did that alone, your teaching will increase by 100%.
Yeah.
If you just start alone, everything I go to teach, I'm gonna teach it in context based on what they understand it to be. A lot of teachers don't do that. Start with their level of understanding. I plus 1. Start with their learning, their level of where they understand it, how they see it. Again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I think you know what I'm about to say. That's why the learner profile is extremely important. That's why the learner profile is critical.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. All right. So that's teacher.
Teacher.
After teacher, you have teacher.
Hmm?
There we go. After teacher, you have teacher, student. Okay. After teacher, you have teacher, student. Okay.
Okay.
This is when the teacher in front of the class is now asking one student to do exactly what the teacher did.
What the teacher did?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Exactly. With no modifications. Remember,
Oh,
this
okay.
is we're at a very basic level here. So when we micro teach, that's a point that I want to make. When we're micro teaching at a very basic level, with the level of knowing on the Bloom's taxonomy.
Mm.
Okay. So we're not micro teaching to get their ideas. All we want them to do at this point in the game is do exactly as we modeled it.
Modeling, yes.
Because we have established when we micro teach, we have established that they don't know a lot about the topic.
Oh, okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So if in my diagnostic, I have determined that they know nothing. Let's say I'm starting a unit on World War II. Okay. And I have determined that they know nothing, very little about World War II. So now I might do a micro lesson about World War II, or I'll do a series of micro lessons. Okay. And again, based on what you're teaching, this is going to look different, but the paradigm stays the same. You're going to do teacher, and you're going to do teacher student. So let's do this again. Now I need your participation. So, what do you do for exercise? I run. 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 Huh. What do you do for exercise?
I run.
See?
Mm.
I didn't have to give you any instruction, did I? All I had to do was point at you. I didn't have to you knew to say, I run, because that's how our brains work.
Yeah.
Right? So that's teacher student. The key here is you're going to have it written on the board. Because if the language is more difficult, they should be able to read it off the board.
Okay. What
It's
about
not
the
about
number?
remembering.
Okay.
So you'll have it on the board. Just like I have. What do you do, folks? I run. So when I point at the student, they might get nervous. They can look at the board.
Yeah.
The answer is there. We're not there to trick them. When you're teaching, you're teaching. When you're testing, you're testing. Anytime when you're teaching, the answer should be somewhere where the student can see it. Always. I took there's one of my TESOL students from maybe 2014. Her name is Dina. We were going to, I promised a group of teachers, I'll take them to the United States.
Oh, really?
This is back in 2016. So we went to get the visas, a whole bunch of teachers. Only one teacher got the visa.
Nice.
Everybody else got rejected. Everyone else got rejected. So I made a promise to her. I said, I'll take you. So we went, me and Dina and I.
Okay.
And I took her to my old high school in the States
Mm.
because I had
Mm.
connections there. And we visited, she she visited the school, we visited the school together, and then she stayed in the classroom with the teacher for like a week. But when I was with her, when we initially met the teacher that she was shadowing,
Ah,
Dina asked, why do you have work on the ceiling? Like she had posters on the ceiling.
mm.
And the teacher said, well, sometimes when I ask the student a question, they go like this. And I was like, did you do that? All right. So what's the point of that? The point of that is when you're teaching, you're teaching. When you're testing, you're testing. So
Mm.
anytime when we're in a non-teaching scenario, the answer should be readily available for the
In
student.
front of them or available, so they will feel comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And happy.
Because we're
Yeah.
not, because we don't want to do anything to take information to the RES, to the non-thinking part of the brain. We don't
Mm.
want the RES to say, go to
Mm.
the non-thinking part of the brain,
Mm.
fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That's the easy way. I have seen teachers have great lessons. They
Mm.
start off great, everything is running good, and then
Mm.
right at the middle of the lesson, it goes crazy. Why? Because she begins to test the students.
Yeah, yeah. So the
And I
answer.
go, no, don't do that. You was
Oh,
doing so wonderful.
yeah,
When
yeah.
you teach, you're
Mm.
teaching. Now remember, formative assessments is not testing,
Mm.
right? But have the answer readily available for the learners. So when you ask them a question or you point at them, they know where to find the answer.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. Because ultimately that's a life skill. Because as adults, we don't have the answers to everything,
Mm.
but we tend to know where to find. We
Sorry.
tend to know where to find the answers, right? Don't we?
Mr. Renner, why 5 times?
Huh?
Why 5 times? Why you repeat it?
5 times. So I don't have the perfect answer other than
Mm.
the brain reacts to the number 5 and 3 for some apparent reason.
Mm. So we need to
So it's
repeat. Oh, sorry. So we
so
need to
anytime
repeat anything in front of the students for 3 times or 5 times to.
anytime you give people information, and it's whether it's young people or old people, and
Mm.
everybody in between, you should say it 5 times.
Nice. Oh.
So if you watch a television commercial, I don't know about because I don't know Arabic. But in America, right, when they're trying to tell you something on a commercial, let's say it's a 30-second commercial or a 1 minute commercial, they
Mm.
tend to repeat what they're saying 5 times or more.
Mm.
So if there's a number, let's say there's a telephone number they want you to call, they'll say 1-800 call me now. That's 1-800 call me now. What number? 1-800 call me now. Dial 1-800 call me now. That's
Yeah, yeah.
1-800 call me now. Right? Because it's a science. Because people don't get it on the first or second time.
Mm.
You have to repeat things at least 5 times or more. And television commercials are a great example of that.
Mm.
Also, if you watch infomercials, the longer commercials, like that's like 5 or 10 minutes long, all they do is repeating the same things that they said in the first 2 minutes. They
Mm.
just keep on repeating it, the same things over again, different ways. Because what marketers know about the brain, right, is that it needs to have repetition,
Yes.
right? Especially as if it's information that is unfamiliar.
Mm. Mm.
It needs to have that repetition. Call 1-800 call me now. That's 1-800 call me now. What number are you going to dial? 1-800 call me now.
Yes.
Right?
Mm.
It's just a human thing. And that's why we can't act like teachers. We have to act like educators, scientists, because the marketer is a scientist.
Yes, yeah. Scientist,
The
yes.
marketer is a scientist. They figure out human routines.
Mm.
They figure out the wants, needs, and expectations of humans,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
That's what marketers do. And then they take that data and they turn it into information. Okay. Where companies use it to sell goods and products and services. Okay. So that's the reason why we do 5 times.
Thank
And
you.
trust me, the students don't get bored. I've done
Yeah.
it so many
Mm.
times, thousands and thousands of times. The students get a kick out of it. And they appreciate when you say it more than once.
Mm.
They really do.
Okay.
Okay, that's teacher student. After teacher student, you have student teacher. Okay.
Okay.
So let's do it again. What do you do for exercise? I run. 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 And what do you do for exercise?
I run. So maybe in this time we
Oh,
should.
hold on. I'm not finished.
Okay,
So
sorry.
do that again. Eh? What do you do for exercise? I no.
I run. Yeah.
Eh, eh, eh,
I run. Yes, I run. I start
eh,
running.
eh, 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 eh,
Doing the same, right? The student will do the same or standing.
eh, eh, eh,
Looking at you to do the same or what?
eh, eh, eh,
The student,
eh, 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 eh. What is it? It's TT, TS, now it's ST. So
yeah.
student teacher. So now you ask me the question. Eh, eh,
The student has to do the same, like the teacher.
eh, eh. No, you just ask me the question. Ask me the question.
Oh, what do you do for exercise? Like this?
I run.
Ah, what do you
I
do for
run.
exercise? Okay.
I run.
No.
So it went from teacher,
Now the
student,
student will ask the teacher. Oh.
yes. And then the teacher will respond, I run.
Mm.
Okay. And then after student teacher, you have student.
Mm.
And
The
then
student
if
will
there was
ask
two
each
if there
other.
were two students
Mm.
in here, then the teacher will point at and then another student and. So let's
Mm.
say it was 5 students. I'll point at one student and then another student. And then I'll go,
They will ask each other.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then after student, it is student, 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 student. And what that is class. So here is when I go, let's say we had more people in the group. I'll say A, B, A, B, A, B. All A's right here,
Would be.
all B's right here.
Mm.
A's, what do you do for exercise? B's, I run. All right, go. And they all point at, listen, they all line up in front of each other. What do you do for exercise? I run. What do you do for exercise? All right, I blow my whistle. I might have a whistle. I might have a bell. They stop. And then I say, all right, switch. B's, what do you do for exercise? A's, I run. What do you do for exercise? All right.
Okay.
And
Great.
that is the modeling. Now, that is in a basic ESL scenario.
Mm.
Okay. That's in a basic ESL scenario. You can script this to to teach anything, micro teach anything. Okay. But here's the key. When you're micro teaching, it needs to be one bit of input. You notice I only have 2 lines here. I don't have 4 lines. I have 2 lines. It's simple. It is simple. I'm not trying to do a higher ordered activity here.
Mm.
Because the reason why I'm doing this, my micro teaching is a tool in my toolbox, right? That I use when students know very little about what I'm trying to communicate.
Mm.
Right? I'm not going to use micro teaching for higher level skills
Mm.
or complex interactions. I'm not going to use micro teaching when I want students to go back and forth and talk with me and think about. No, this is the bottom line of Bloom's, right?
Mm.
Knowing. I just want students to know here, right? This is my I+1. This is a great opportunity to scaffold with a large group of people.
Mm.
Okay? That's the key here. So micro teaching are great at the beginning of units with the understanding that the students may not know a lot about the unit because it's the beginning of the unit based on your diagnostic or your pre-assessment that you do before the unit starts.
Mm.
All right. So basic information. The other thing is you write the information down, or the information needs to be visible so the participants can see it. When you're teaching, you're teaching. When you're testing, you're testing.
Mm.
All right. They need to be able to pull that information, whether it be on the whiteboard, whether it be on the ceiling, right?
Mm.
They need to see it. The other thing too is when learners respond, they need to respond exactly how it's written on the board.
Mm.
No deviations at all. They can't say I walk. They can't say I jog.
The same answer.
Just the same answer. We're going to allow them to expand later.
Mm.
They're going to have an opportunity to do that later. But in a micro teaching scenario, We just want them to duplicate what we modeled. This is very important. Because we need to assess, to be able to assess that we can move on to the next more complicated or higher order activity. Right? I+1. All right, we get higher order in thinking. We do it step by step. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is micro teaching. Okay, it should be one bit of information that is essential for them to know. Right. The answer should be on the board. Should be written. Okay. The other thing that you have to do is make sure that you're giving clear instructions. So you have to practice yourself before you go to micro teach to make sure you give clear instruction, because a lot of times teachers have issues doing instruction because the instruction they give, the directions they give, are not clear, are not concise. So make sure when you're micro teaching that you rehearse the instruction to make sure that your instruction is clear. Okay. A, B, A, B, A. Like there's no, you're going to point directly. A, B, A, B. All A's right here. All B's right here. Line up directly in front of each other. When I blow the whistle, A's, you're going to say what I do for exercise. B's, you're going to respond with I run. So you practice, because you don't want unclear instructions to create confusion. And what happens? The RES comes and says, this is confusion. Fight, flight, or freeze. And then your wonderful, well-planned activity just rolls into chaos. And then when students see you get frustrated, they get even more frustrated and flustered. Okay?
Yes.
This is micro teaching. Again, we presented it in oh yeah, one more thing. Don't ever forget the context. So establish the context. Okay? Context must be something student understands, right? Any questions about micro teaching?
Nothing. So we should go through these steps: TT, TS, and STSS, right?
Yes. You go through these steps. And what's the value of going through the steps? Is now you gave it to them 5 times. TS, they hear it again another 2 or 3, 4 times. ST, they hear it again another 2, 3, 4 times. SS, they hit. You see what I'm saying? By the time you finish the micro teaching transaction, they have heard it about 30 to 40 times.
Yes.
In different ways from different voices.
Nice. Oh, that's good.
Okay. And again, you could do this for any subject. Science, history, math. You can do this for any subject. A physical education teacher can do the same thing. Definitely a physical education teacher can definitely do it. Right?
Okay.
If you're teaching somebody how to swim, right? You know, how to maybe the breathing technique, or how to move their hands or whatever. We all use micro teaching techniques.
Yes.
So this is a technique that we can use when learners have very little knowledge about what you're set to teach. Okay? Micro teaching is wonderful. because you can do it in less than 20 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, and it can be extremely impactful.
Yes. For the beginning of each lesson, we should use it. Yes.
No. So now you put words in my mouth.
Oh.
I never said
No.
at the beginning of each lesson. No, don't talk, sister. Don't go up there and line on me.
No.
Don't line on me.
I'm
I never said
asking
that.
you.
No, I never said that, sister. I said, what did I say? I said we do this at the beginning of a unit, maybe at the beginning of a unit.
Yes.
When we have established what? That the learners don't know a lot about the
Okay.
information.
Oh, sorry. So the beginning of each unit. Okay. Right.
Oh, no, not the beginning of the unit. Hold on. I said when we have established, when the learners don't know, because it could be the beginning of a unit that the students know a lot about.
Okay. Sorry. I got it.
That's why we're going to do the diagnostic before the unit to know what they know about the unit. Make sense?
Okay.
I tell you, one of the things I do is I'll give them the unit test before the unit starts. And see how many questions they get right or wrong. You know, it depends on the policy of your school. But that's another reason why all assessments need to be front loaded. You don't wait till you've taught the lesson or taught the unit to write the assessment. No, you should write the assessment beforehand because you can give them the assessment as a diagnostic. Okay.
Okay.
Man, I gave you a lot. We went over a lot today in 2 hours. That was a quick 2 hours.
A lot.
So what you're going to do is you're going to take what we talked about Tuesday. You're going to take what we talked about today.
Yeah.
And you're going to take the two topics, the first two topics in the Smooth Move book, and you're going to write your journal. So when I meet you on Tuesday, when we meet Tuesday, you're going to give me your journal response, and we're going to talk about it.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Do you have any questions for me?
No, thank you so much, Jenny.
Are you getting anything out of this, or is this complete nonsense?
No, I get it. No, it's easy.
No, I'm saying, is this valuable to you? Do you find it valuable?
Yeah, really, as I told you, sometimes we do the same thing, not all the thing that you gave me today, but without labels, yani.
Without labels. So now you can make labels too. Yeah.
Yes, it's nice. Yeah. I can make labels very well. Inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. So we'll see you Tuesday then.
Inshallah. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session as usual. Thank you.